Well, for me, Mendable is a safe space, whether it be, in an app, in a community, wherever it is, for people to really share themselves and be accepted for being themselves.
I have gratitude in the fact that I made it through.
So all of anxiety, every form of anxiety, is a sense of losing control or loss of control.
But if you can throw out that energy of positivity and kindness and smile, it changes the world.
What does social media mean to you? I think one thing we can agree is that it means something different to everyone. There's no right or wrong answer. For some people, it's a necessary evil. For some people, they hate having it. People can get addicted to it. We hear a lot about protecting our kids from dangerous content, and that's good that we're taking moves to do that. But what about using social media for positive purposes and for building business? So today I've got a great guest joining me who is not just an expert in this field, she's actually built her own business around this and has become a leading authority in how to use social media to develop your business and raise your profile. So it's a great pleasure to welcome Samantha Kelly, who's joining me today from Wexford in Ireland. So Samantha, great to see you again. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat to me today.
Oh, I'm delighted to hook up with you again, David. It's been a while, and I know that we go back a while too. And it's just really nice to be able to share some tips that might help your audience.
So I'm going to ask you that question, just in a couple of sentences. What does social media mean to you?
Social media means that normal people can get a piece of the pie. You don't need big budgets. You don't need fancy equipment. If you are adding value and you are an expert in what you do, you can get ahead of the bigger guys, because social media gives you a platform. It gives you reach that probably you would have never had before, let's say 15 years ago.
And help me out a little bit here, because when I look at social media in the big picture, we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, you've got Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, TikTok, to a lesser extent, Clubhouse, YouTube. And then you've even got all of the messaging apps like WhatsApp, WeChat, Telegram, Discord. How do you keep a track of them all? And can you possibly use all of them?
Well, no. I would always recommend that people focus on two where your target audience are, and then one that you maybe enjoy yourself, like TikTok. I'm a consumer of content on TikTok. I love browsing and just having a look at the videos and stuff, but it's not where my target audience are. So LinkedIn I would use, and Twitter I used to use a lot more, but then it changed to X, and I do feel it's different, but I'm still over there and I have a big following over there. You mentioned YouTube near the end of those platforms, and actually YouTube is becoming really, really powerful, especially with AI coming into play, because if you search, a lot of people are searching on AI for answers rather than searching on Google. So if you are a go-to expert in your niche already, this is the time to really stand out, because people are searching for, oh, give me the names of an expert in communication, or give me the top leaders in, who are the top leaders in whatever. And they are actually giving you results in AI, all AI search. And so it's really important. And YouTube and LinkedIn are two of the main platforms that ChatGPT uses to get this, to take this content from the internet.
And I know that LinkedIn is your primary platform that you're working on right now, but going back a few years, when you first started doing this, you adopted Twitter as your go-to platform. And that's when your brand was born of the tweeting goddess.
Yes, I know. And then he changed it to X. And, Elon came along and decided to change it to X. And all of my branding was Tweeting Goddess. So I'm in the middle of a rebrand right now. So it's samanthakelly.media. I'm getting headshots done on Thursday. So it's all a whole rebrand for me, which I had to do because one man came along and changed it to X.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, did you have an oh shit moment when that happened of, oh my God, my brand is going away?
I did. Yeah, I did. And I'm not afraid to admit it either. I mean, I was like, hang on, someone told me years ago, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I, because I have such a huge following there, it gave me a lot of credibility as a Twitter expert. So I was getting asked to speak. There weren't many Twitter experts, right? So I was top of the tree. And then all of a sudden I was, so it was difficult. But I was already using LinkedIn because Twitter and LinkedIn are powerful B2B platforms because decision makers are hanging out there because decision makers would go to Twitter for the latest news, for example. So I was already on LinkedIn because a lot of my followers on LinkedIn actually came from Twitter. So so I was really lucky that I was already using LinkedIn. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm going to put more into this LinkedIn, do a bit more training and stuff, and then see what happens. And it's just been phenomenal because, oh my goodness, like so many people are on LinkedIn, but they really don't know how to utilize it properly and they don't know how to stand out. So it's the same kind of strategy that I use on Twitter, I was using on LinkedIn. I was just being myself, adding value, sharing my knowledge. Video is very powerful on LinkedIn now as well. They're really pushing that. And then there's LinkedIn newsletters, there's LinkedIn events. There's so many things you can do on LinkedIn now. I just loved it and I just took to it like a duck to water. And like now I'm training teams on employee advocacy, like LinkedIn pages. A lot of people kind of ignore them, but they're really powerful for companies. And so, so that's where I am now. So I've had to kind of restructure a lot of stuff and, but use my charm as much as I could to build connections. But you know what? It's working and people do want to buy from people and people do want to connect with humans. So it's really the same kind of strategy that I use on Twitter. Add value, be kind, help others, and share your knowledge.
And the one thing I think that you did very well was to be able to teach people all of the hidden pieces, because anyone can just go out and post on any one of these platforms, post a picture, post a little video, do whatever, make a comment. But there's so many layers beneath the front line that you can actually use. And that's where I think the real value comes in. And that's really how you built your business, was teaching people how to use it and even running campaigns for people.
Yes, and I do that less now, the campaigns, but it depends on the campaign. But really it's about engagement and engaging with your ideal clients, because there are people that might be on TikTok because they love TikTok and they know how to use TikTok, but their target audience might not be there, and I see people on TikTok sharing gems that I would have shared 10 years ago. It's just like, so it's like, it's really interesting to watch, these younger people coming up along sharing what I would have said probably 10 years ago. But that's why it's really important to position yourself as the go-to expert in what you're doing. You can do a post, but you need to create an image. It has to have the right branding. It has to have the right colors. It has to have it has to be posted at the right time. It has to, you can't just post and ghost. You need to engage. If people engage with it, you need to engage with them. Click on their profiles. See, can you engage back on something they've posted? It's a whole other world. It's not just putting out a post.
Yeah. And that word engagement is a word I know you use a lot. And that's one of the key things that I know you taught me a long time ago, was if you post something and you get good reactions to it, don't just read them and ignore them, because that can often lead to a valuable connection. Or at least if somebody takes the time to write something complimentary on your post, you should acknowledge that.
Absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes I did a post there, I think it was last week. I think I did it on a Saturday, actually, which was unusual because people ignore Saturdays and Sundays. But Saturdays and Sundays are really powerful because don't forget, people are busy, especially CEOs and decision makers. They're busy all week, and probably the only chance they can get on LinkedIn is the weekend when they're sitting having their coffee after reading the morning paper or whatever. So for me, like, I did a post and I actually said, you know what, it was really quiet. As soon as the tariffs were announced, it went really quiet. And I was like, am I the only one that's quiet? And I was talking to people and they were all saying, no, I'm the same. But nobody was saying it publicly. So I did it. I said it publicly and I said, look, it's been a really tough few months. And I just said what I did. And then I said what I did to counteract that and things that I put in place to cope with that and all of that. And it went crazy. Like, there's 80 comments on it now. It's like, I think there's over 10,000 impressions. It's like, it's gone crazy. But you know what? I got 2 clients from that post. 2 clients, because they messaged me and they said, oh my God, thank God you said that. I thought I was the only one. By the way, I'd really love some help with my LinkedIn.
And those keywords, you're not alone, that is something that can really lead to good, valuable connections. And I can't tell you the amount of times that I've been in some job somewhere thinking, I must be the only person that has to think about these things. And then you find out, no, there's thousands of other people. And you really are not alone. If you can connect with those people, even if it doesn't lead to business, isn't it great to have somebody to talk to?
Oh, look, I mean, especially for this podcast, right? It's really important that people know you're not on your own. And I've always talked about this, and I've always had empathy and seen when someone was struggling and stuff like that, and just, put my hand out or, sent a message saying, look, is there anything I can do if you want to have a rant or if you want to have a chat or whatever, and I'm known for that. But like, I needed it the past 2 months. So I actually took my own advice, David, and I reached out to people that I knew and decision makers and a couple of decision makers who actually sent me some referrals. And, it's like, your network is your net worth. And it's about connecting with the right people and having the right people around you, like people who are successful, for example. They usually didn't stamp on others to succeed. They usually have helped other people along the way. They usually have done acts of kindness. I've had it done to me. I know that. I remember when I started first, like, the amount of leaders that sat and had a cup of tea with me and listened to my crazy ideas. And, just even getting that bit of time and a cup of coffee and a cup of tea, like, that's why I try to play it forward as much as I can. I remember there was one lady actually, her laptop broke and she was in PR, and I was like, she needs her laptop to work, like. And so I rang the shop near where she lives and I organized a laptop to be delivered. And, things like that, like, she'll remember that forever, but I didn't want anything back. I just knew that if I was in that situation, that would be like €1,000 to me. Like, it's like, it's about just paying it forward for the kindness that I was shown years ago.
Yeah. I think that people remember bad experiences, but they remember good experiences as well. And if you do those random things and you just do things that will help people, they will remember it. So, being kind and kindness in business does have a place. A lot of people will say, no, business is competitive, business is war, but it does have a place. But one thing I've got to ask you is, you must have had haters. You must have had people that question you, maybe are jealous of you, send nasty messages. Has that happened? And if so, what did you do with them?
Oh gosh, of course I've loads of haters. I mean, I even noticed from the post, I know my haters definitely didn't comment. Do you know what I mean? You just know. And it's like, it's funny. I can tell, actually. I can tell by the lack of engagement, if you know what I mean. They're watching, but they're watching and they're trying to copy all your ideas. And so I just ignore them, just block them. And I just keep being the best, because they can't be me. There are people that have tried to do what I've done. And then they come to me going, I can't do this. How did you do this? And I'm like, because they didn't have the magic ingredient, which was me. So I have to own that I do make a difference. Like, I've had some businesses acquired, nothing happened afterwards, and the missing ingredient was me, and so, it's all about, don't worry about the haters, because they're never going to put money in your bank account. They're never going to be your client. So focus on the clients who need you, the people who need you, the people who support you, the people who sometimes you can see, like there's a young girl and she's just shining on TikTok. I absolutely love her. And she has a company, a beauty company. And I actually did a post on LinkedIn and I said, you know what, this girl is deadly. I really love what she's doing. Fair play to her. Like, I love to see this success, especially in young women, actually, young men too. But, you know, I like to see someone doing something amazing. And so I put a post up and I just said, oh, this, you know, I put a picture up and showed her TikTok so people could follow her. She reposted that and shared it to her audience and said, oh my God, this just made my day. Like, so it doesn't matter how big the person is or appears to be, just saying, keep going. Well done. I'm watching you. You're doing great. Can make a difference.
Yeah. Now, I want to get onto your personal story because you mentioned yourself. But before that, one last question on social media. And it's hard to talk about social media without talking about controversial public figures. You mentioned Elon Musk, who came in and bought Twitter and rebranded it. But one person that I really have to mention, and I don't want this to be political, but is Donald Trump. And, you know, I will make it clear, I am not a supporter of Donald Trump. But one thing I know about him is that he spends sometimes up to 2 hours a day on his own social media platform, Truth Social. I think it's the only one he uses these days. But he spends that time talking to his base. So he's doing something right. I mean, whether or not you agree with his policies and foreign policy and anything, in terms of communicating with people, it looks like that's effective.
Oh, look, I've said for years that politicians, you know, can be on social media platform, but they need to learn how to use it correctly. Trust me, I would love to get my hands on that man's account because there's so many things I wouldn't be letting him say, you know, but that's it. You see, that's just him. You know, I don't really have an opinion on him, but I mean, for politicians in general and anybody who wants to get votes for, you know, office or anything like that, absolutely engage with your audience. Like, I see them putting up posts here in Ireland. They put a tweet up or a post and then they're not responding to any of the comments. Now, some of the comments they don't need to respond to because they're just idiots, you know, trolls and stuff. But there are certain comments that they could respond to, you know, and it's about putting out positive stuff, putting out the good stuff. And, you know, it's a gray area. I mean, I don't think that man cares what he posts, you know, but I would definitely be advising them on a different way of doing it. But definitely it's powerful for engagement and for getting those votes.
Now let's talk about your personal story because, you know, I'm coming to you from a mental health platform and talking about things that people do in life. And I'm a great believer that everyone has a great story. And anyone that doesn't know you and is listening to you here probably thinks, you know, she's got a first-class university degree in marketing communications and probably has a background in corporate PR. But in fact, you, like myself, come from very humble beginnings, and most of this is self-taught. So I want to hear a little bit about your journey, but can I take you back to a time in your life? I'm going to pinpoint, we're right now, summer of 2025. I'm going to say 20 years ago, 2005, if somebody told you that you would be sitting here talking to me, successfully running your own business and what you do, what would you have said to them? I
would have said, no way. There's no way, because at that time, actually, I had one daughter. I'm in recovery. I'm 17 years sober. So I was in early recovery, I think then. And, you know, it's like, it's been a huge part of where I am today, because when you get your head right, and it's very apt for this platform, when you get your head right, everything around you gets better. It gets better, you know. So I'm not, okay, it doesn't get better that you get millions in your bank account. It gets better bit by bit. For example, I got a letter from, you know, I paid off my car, you know, little things like that, step by step by step. And I've been I hadn't been paid off my car. So it was lovely to get that, that little statement you get saying 0 at the end. Such a buzz, And for me, if you'd said that to me, I wouldn't have believed you. I was in a different marriage then as well. A lot has happened since then, and my father had passed away as well. And it's just so many things that have happened since then have got me to where I am today. And I certainly didn't go to college. I wanted to go to art college. I remember briefly wanted to go to art college, but we were kind of, no, get out and get a job. Don't be silly. You're not going to art college, So it's kind of that kind of attitude. But I'm proud to say my daughter, who's 18, is actually in college, and she's just completed her first year of college. And she's studying medical technology. And my other daughter runs her own business, and she's fantastic. And she's probably the best eyebrow and permanent makeup artist in Wexford, probably in Ireland. I don't know, but it's amazing. And I have a grandson now. I never would have thought that I'd have a grandson, and he's 2.5. So all of that has come from sobriety. All of that has come from me working a program, going to my meetings, helping newcomers, sharing the message. It's a program of attraction. So just people looking at me in the background that are still drinking will be saying, what has she got? What's so different about her? So it's a program of attraction. And how I deal with things, how I deal with situations that used to baffle me, all of that comes from sobriety.
I remember one time you said to me, just a very simple sentence, when you've got a clear head, you can do anything.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the clear head. It's that new way of thinking, and how you react to things is different when you have a clear head. How you allow love into your life as well. You allow love for yourself into your life. You have more of an open mind as well when you have a clear head. And I feel giving yourself self-care is another new thing to me, relatively new. It's only in the past probably 2 years I've started really, looking after myself and putting myself first. But that helps, of course, when you're a mom and then when the child goes to college, you have that bit of freedom and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely a clear head is the way to go. Oh my God, it makes such a difference.
Yeah. And I know you've used the word freedom as well, that it gives you freedom and you can bring so much more into your life. Yeah,
freedom and choice. Yeah. Gives you choices, And don't get me wrong, money is important too, some people, I feel very strongly about this. When you've had no money, money is important, because when you've had no money, and I've been there, I've been counting the pennies in a jar to get food years and years ago. But when you are able to earn money yourself, and you have something, a gift or an area of expertise where you can actually earn your own money, it gives you choice. My daughter can go to college. I can get the grandson something. I can actually go maybe on a holiday. Little things like that. It gives you choice. And that's really important too.
Now, before we get on to the birth of Tweeting Goddess and how that all began, I do want to take you back to another point in your life, because in the mental health world, we really believe that being vulnerable and asking for help is a strength. And I think in the way of addiction recovery, there's probably a big parallel there as well. But in 2012, you found yourself in a very vulnerable position when you appeared on Dragon's Den. And for our American friends, the equivalent in the US is Shark Tank. So if we say Dragon's Den, think Shark Tank, it's the same thing. But for another business that you had, you went on to Dragon's Den, and that kind of went a little bit different from what you were expecting. Would you tell us about that?
Yeah, yeah. My father and I used to watch Dragon's Den a lot, and he'd be always saying, "Oh, that's a great idea. I wish I could think of a cool idea. You know, we'd be millionaires and all of that." Like, and so when I started my other business, my first business I started was a gift box for girls' first period. So it was a bit of a taboo topic, bit controversial, but it was a really good gift idea. And so I went on Dragons and I auditioned for Dragons Den, and then I was going up to get filmed, and you have to get your makeup done before you go on the cameras, you know. And so the lady was doing my makeup, and a butterfly landed on the makeup girl's light, and my dad had passed away a few months beforehand. And I was thinking of him when I was there because he would have been so proud. Like, and I remember I saw the butterfly and she was like, "Oh my God, why is there a butterfly here?" And it was January, like it was cold. And I said, "Oh, that's my dad." Like, and you know, and I kind of had him in my head then when I went up, and then I was doing my pitch and all of that. It's on YouTube if anyone wants to go watch it. I was doing my pitch, and one of the people, investors said, "You've had a tough year, haven't you?" And set me off straight away. Started crying, and I was trying to hold it together because I was trying to be this brave businesswoman on the telly, like, and I just fell apart. And I did try and hold it together, but I really wanted to fall apart. And I remember that was recorded, you see. And so I knew then that was going to be aired in the following month or whatever. I was dreading it. I was thinking, oh my God, everybody's going to think I'm such an idiot. Imagine like a businesswoman crying in front of the people and crying on TV. So I was kind of dreading it. But then when it aired, my Twitter exploded. People were like, "Oh my God, you know, I people I thought they were going to make fun of me, but they didn't. I experienced empathy, compassion. I got loads of messages, stories of their own parents that passed away. It resonated with people. And that's when I saw the power of resonating with your audience, but also the power of being vulnerable.
And was that the time that you thought about taking social media to a whole different level?
It helped a lot. Yeah, yeah. I remember the gentleman who was supposed to invest in me. He said to me, "You know, your superpower is social media." He told me that years ago. I was like, "Really? Do you think so?" He's like, "Yeah." He said, "I think so." So
And
other
that was in
people
the
see
early
it.
days.
Yeah, other people see it in you, and we can't see it in ourselves. You know.
So, very simple question. I think I know how you're going to answer it, but so many people use social media to portray what they want people to see. So, is it better to portray that character of something that's maybe not real, or to just be your true, authentic self? And what is easier?
Oh, it's easier to pretend. No, no, authentic self always. I'll give you an example. I remember I did a video. Someone had stopped me in the car park, and I had a branded car at the time, um, with a network I had. And a woman came over to me, a stranger, and said, "Oh my God, thank you for doing what you do." And I'm like, "Sorry." And she goes, "Thank you for helping other women," and blah, blah, blah. And she was like really nice. I was like, "Oh my God." And I wasn't expecting it. And it actually made me a bit emotional. So I just recorded the video straight after. It had been raining, David. My eyeliner was down my eyes. My hair looked terrible. And I recorded it and I posted it. And oh my God, it went crazy. I was like, why don't I look gorgeous in this video? Because I didn't look gorgeous. I was really annoyed with myself. But you know what? People want real. They want real. So you don't have to be perfect at all. That Instagram world was never my world. So I kind of didn't really see the perfectly curated content. I was always add value, you know, LinkedIn and Twitter were always my platforms. So I'm on Instagram now. I think I have 5,000 followers on Instagram, but like it's really not that world that I would have followed anyone doing that anyway, you know, that curated thing. So
Yeah. And it's also important, I think, no matter how professional you are in your posting and everything that you put out in the public domain, to also show that you're a real person.
Oh, human, totally. People buy from people, sure. If you're going to get sales, you're going to get sales because of you, not because necessarily of the company. I've proven this time and time again with clients. People buy from people, and if they know, like, and trust you, it's well known. If people know, like, and trust you, they'll buy from you.
Yeah. So, Samantha, I'm going to ask you two questions before we wrap up, and I'll ask them separately. If somebody comes to you and is just totally bewildered, and they say, I have a business, I know I should be on social media, it's too overwhelming, what should I do? What advice would you give them?
First of all, know your ideal client, because you need to know where they're hanging out, and you need to be where they are hanging out, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It depends on that target demographic. They all have different demographics. I would also definitely get a marketing strategy in place. It's not as easy as just posting. Get your ducks lined up in a row first, and then start building relationships. Even before you launch, start building relationships. Start building connections with other business owners. Start building connections with people who are potentially your target audience, and go from there. Once you have a network, then when you launch, they'll be there ready to support you. And do join a couple of networks. There's lots of different networks. I've never really found the right one. I think I might have found the right one now, but there are so many different networks, and think globally as well. If you have a social media, if you have a product, or if you have knowledge that you can share and impart knowledge to someone else and do consultations, you can go global because of Zoom, because of technology.
Yeah. And I would also guess that the global pandemic was probably positive for your business rather than negative.
It was. And, the amount of people that came to me and said, how do you use Zoom? I actually did a lot of free webinars to help people. So that and it's funny, it was a lot of leaders reached out to me and did things with me because they wanted to help as well. And they knew that I had the platform and that I could get them on as a guest and stuff like that. So I did a lot of that. Yeah.
Well, I said it was going to be two questions. So the second question is, and it's another piece of advice. What would you say to somebody who is struggling with addiction or to come to terms with addiction? What would be your words of advice?
Call the helpline. Just call the helpline and reach out, and they will put you in touch with someone who's already in recovery that you can speak to, and then go to a meeting. It's the only way. It's the best way. Meetings, surround yourself with like-minded people, and you'll be okay. It'll all be okay once you take that first step.
Because I would imagine that once again in that situation, you could feel very isolated, and it's just making that connection, and you realize that you're not alone.
You're not alone. Absolutely. And there are so many people that should be getting well and they're not. And it's very sad. And families are affected. I see it every day. So if you feel that it's affecting your life or your family or those around you and yourself, definitely try it. All you can do is try it and see how it goes.
Well, Samantha, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on social media, your thoughts on life in general, your thoughts on people. Always great to chat to you. If anybody is interested in contacting you, I've posted all of your contact information in the narrative, so they'll know where to find you. And just a reminder that we do hold the Mendable Rooms on Monday and Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. East Coast time in the US. And we have a conference coming up in Atlanta in October 2025. So hope to see people in the room at the conference or wherever we might see you next. And Samantha, thank you for your hospitality. They talk about Irish hospitality. I know that you definitely promote that. Great to chat to you today. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you.